All right, what's up, everybody? We are back with OverDogs Podcast, and today we got a special guest in the house. Our new guest today, Mr. Ilan from BioHarvest Sciences. He's come to talk with us about a very extensive project he's been working on and this product he's been working on to change the world. We all could use a little more blood flow. And we're here today to talk with Ilan. So say hi to Ilan.
It's a real pleasure to be here today, where we're going to be talking about where biotech meets the ring.
All right. Well, I'm the king of the ring, baby. Let's
go. I'm the king of blood flow. So when you bring the king of blood flow to the king of the ring, you got serious performance.
When it comes to blood flow, what's the most exciting thing for you, Mike?
My wife.
There you go.
My wife is the most exciting thing when it comes to my blood flow. But after trying that, I tried a little bit. I don't know if I should give you that, but I did. And I can tell that Josh has tried some as well, because he's usually like trying some tequila and he's real chirpy and quiet on the and like gets real angry on the other end of the camera. And today he's just like super giggity now, man. So giggity. We're rolling along. So please, Ilan, you gave us a little explanation upstairs about all the science and technology that's going into your project here with VINIA. And it's actually delicious. I actually can't wait to try some more. But please give us a breakdown again and tell the audience what VINIA is all about.
So, Mike, we're a very unique company because we're not a supplement company. At the core, we are a biotech company. And we spent $100 million inventing a technology in 17 years called botanical synthesis, which allows us today to bring the power of what's inside plants to power and fuel human cells, which is what you're feeling right now. Mm. And what the technology does is it allows us to take any plant in the plant kingdom, and there's 500,000 plants out there. We take the plant once, and we know exactly where in the plant are the cells that produce the critical phytonutrients that are so important for your overall health and performance. Mm. And we take those cells and we grow those cells like in a science experiment back at school, in high school, in a Petri dish. And we do thousands of experiments. And what we do is we feed the cells different food. We have different levels of lighting, different levels of temperature, and a bunch of other variables which are part of our intellectual property that we don't talk about. But we get the cells to do two things. We get the cells to produce the exact phytonutrients that the plant produces. Mm-hmm. And then we focus in on one specific hero phytonutrient that we magnify by an order of magnitude. We call that magnification. So we do mirroring and magnification. So in the case of VINIA, we started with the red grape, mm-hmm. right? You've probably heard, and your audience may have heard about the French paradox. French people, they have a very fatty diet, lots of cheeses, pâtés, liver, but they have amazing cardiovascular health. Mm. Why? Moderate consumption of red wine. Mm. That's 2 to 3 glasses every single day. And when the scientists looked inside what is it that's driving this amazing cardiovascular health, they realized there was one key polyphenol called Piceid resveratrol. So we got our cells to increase the levels of Piceid resveratrol 100 times more than what's found in the red grape. That was our magnification. So that in each of these capsules today, you have the same amount of Piceid resveratrol plus all the other polyphenols as one bottle of red wine. No sugar, no calories, no alcohol. The same as 1,000 red grapes. Super potent. And then, Mike, we lock the cell bank. We never go back to the plant. And we have this cell bank. In our case, we've had the same cell bank since 2015. So 10 years now. And we figured out how to take these cells in a Petri dish and grow them in industrial scale bioreactors in liquids, liquid media, where the cells multiply over 18 days. They produce the piceid resveratrol. We then harvest the bioreactors. We're left with a rich mud of red grape powder. There's no insecticides, there's no herbicides, there's no fungicides, there's no heavy metals, because we grow this in aseptic bioreactors in a biological facility. And then we simply dry the powder, and that's what we're left with. It's soluble, amazing solubility, so critical, so it dissolves in your intestinal tract and you're not peeing or pooping it out. And it's amazingly bioavailable, moves very quickly into your blood plasma to start working on all your hundreds and millions of cells in your body. So this is our VINIA product, and we're a science-based company. We've done multiple clinical trials, all double-blind placebo and published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. And the key trial that we did was a 90-day trial with one capsule of VINIA every single day for 90 days. And we showed the ability to significantly increase the dilation of your arteries. Now, that's really, really important, because all of us have roughly 60,000 miles of arteries, veins, and capillary systems in our bodies. And we need those 60,000 miles operating like 4 or 5 lane highways, because that's all about blood flow. And blood flow is the most critical part of our body's operating mechanism. For you as a fighter, it's the core that underpins your performance. Because if you don't have good blood flow in the ring, it's going to impact your ability to perform.
Platinum Piceidis Virtual. Can you say that 5 times fast? Platinum Piceidis Virtual.
I'll help you with it, Mike. I like the platinum, by the way, right? That's a nice add-on. The platinum Piceid resveratrol. It took me about 5 years to be able to say.
Piceid resveratrol.
Brilliant.
That is, when he said it in his accent,
He's a genius.
But I love his passion and everything that, you're so excited to share this information with me and others. But, as a combat athlete, I could use a little more oxygen. When I was sparring Sean Strickland, I could have used a little more oxygen.
I think this is what Marab's on, and nobody knows it.
Oh,
potentially.
Dude, we gotta
guys, you're gonna have to tie me up in that
days.
room, and I ain't gonna say anything what anybody, the people that use this product, look, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer, leveraging the power of plant cells to be able to get those arteries, capillaries, and veins dilating and more blood flow. And when you have more blood flow, like you said, more blood flow means more oxygen and nutrients flowing to the body, tissue, cells, and organs. And that means more physical energy. In the ring, you've got that energy. You've got the ability to move the way you need to move. And then clearly for combat fighters today, mental alertness and focus is the king inside the ring. And when you have more blood flow going to your brain, it's funny, people don't realize this. The brain is 2% of your body's body mass, just 2%. But it utilizes 20% of the body's oxygen and 15% of the blood flow. So with VINIA, we increase the blood flow to the peripheral part of the brain. We get below the barrier called the blood-brain barrier that protects the brain. It gets below. So we're able to increase the oxygen levels via the blood flow to the brain and help remove cellular toxins. So you got none of that fog, no brain fog, and you've got all the alertness that you need to be focusing on your prey.
I don't think I would have been able to say Piceid resveratrol without eating those before. I really don't think so. It's got my brain flowing right now. I feel like training a little bit right now, but I'm training my mind, learning about this scientific plant-based.
And this is the product of probably the most zealous, toughest Israeli plant cell biologist, and probably the best plant cell biologist in the world. And like I said, it's taken us literally 17 years of literally climbing Mount Everest and back, conquering biological barriers, because the challenge is how you produce consistently from the plant the critical phytonutrients with consistency, with predictability, and our technology is able to do that in a very unique way. And as I said, it's 17 years and $100 million that we've invested to get to this point.
And also, all those years, in the short stories I heard from you upstairs, you said you lived in all these places across the world, across the globe. You've stayed in many countries. And I think about the food in America, how much stuff gets pumped into it. There's videos of it all over the internet of people saying how bad the food for us is here. And, to create a food, and after you lived in all those places, you ate much cleaner and different types of food from all over the world, to create this product to give you better blood flow and oxygen throughout your body on those 4 or 5 lane highways you're talking about. What the body wants. I mean, all this science you've done over the years. What can you tell us about the bad things in the American food system and compare it to, how this will help Americans and other people eating these daily chews?
Look, ultimately, the word you talked about, Josh, clean is so important today. Mm-hmm. And so the other important perspective is that I kind of feel that my job, yes, I'm the CEO of BioHarvest Sciences, the owners of this technology, but in fact, I feel like I represent 500,000 plants in the plant kingdom that are literally talking to us every day and saying, listen, guys, we have inside us all the treasure, all the secrets to be able to drive your health and wellness. But instead of using us, you've abused us. And that's really scary because we have mass extinction of plants. We're putting so many heavy metals into the soil. We're using insecticides, pesticides, fungicides to be able to, increase yields. But if you actually look at the nutrients in a loaf of bread today versus a loaf of bread that our parents consumed, it's like 2 totally different products out there. So our company, as global leaders of plant cell biology, we understand that the secrets that exist in plants are the future of nutrition, but also the future of the next generation of therapeutic solutions. So our technology today is used across products like VINIA, which has really been an amazing validation of the power of our technology. Today in the US, we have more than 50,000 active subscribers. This is a subscription business. 90% of our business is a subscription business. There's very few other companies out there that have such a significant subscription base. And the reason why, Mike and Josh, is because once you're on the product, it changes your life. We, on our website, on vinia.com, we have more than 9,300 verified reviews with a 4.8 out of 5 verified rating. And it's driven by the fact that we've understood that what exists out there in nature is the best. But it's critical for us as mankind, specifically as we get to the point in 20, 30 years' time, there's going to be 10 billion people on this planet. And how are we going to feed those people? We have to develop technologies like ours to be able to provide these next generation superfoods in order to be able to improve our overall health and wellness. And the answers exist in the plants. Our technology is just the bridge between the plant kingdom and providing this in a scalable way for millions of people to enjoy. And that's what we've done here with VINIA. And what was interesting is, how do we get to athletes, to combat athletes, or just in general in athletes? we obviously, with the product being all about increasing blood flow and the benefits of physical energy, mental alertness, also from a longevity perspective, as you get older, you're getting oxidative damage to your cells. We know through our research that VINIA supports, basically as like a shield to stop that oxidative damage. In addition, we reduce oxidation of LDL cholesterol and we maintain blood pressure within normal ranges. These are other benefits that have been derived from our research. But what was really interesting is we started to work with athletes about 2 years ago. And we were working with NFL athletes who were busy training in the combine. And we realized then at that point that these athletes are really, they're amazing. They're super focused. They're super fit. And we realized that we needed to give them a slightly higher dosage, 2 capsules, in order for them to feel that edge. And, Yo Murphy was one of the trainers, and Yo would say that, when you get a bit of an edge with guys at that level, it's a game changer. And so we saw that 2 capsules was the right dosage, because for everybody else, our clinical trial is based on 1 capsule per day for 90 days. So that's why we developed the 2X formula daily chew, which is formulated and designed specifically for athletes. And we also understood that the importance for athletes like you, Mike, the critical nature of anti-doping and the fact that you got to really worry about everything that goes into your body. Mm-hmm. That's why we are Informed Sport certified. Informed Sport covers us for literally every type of ingredient that crosses the line from an anti-doping perspective. So every single batch of our daily 2X formula chews is Informed Sports certified. It's a major process. We have to send the materials to London. It takes literally like 17 days of testing, more than 250 different substances before they give you the clearance, and then you can release the product. Wow. And this was critical for us to be able to have the credibility to make sure that we're making sure that in addition to obviously the way we produce the product, even to the point that we don't have any solvents in the product.
Now I have a question, because you're talking about these huge impact athletes and sports as far as fighting and football. CTE is a big thing. And just from trying a chew and we're going to have another one here. It's actually really good. It's like those Mamba candies. It's really tasty. Brain trauma and like blood flow, your brain needs that blood flow to not be damaged so much by that trauma. The more blood flow, the healthier your brain might be. Like, what's have you done any studies on brain impact?
We haven't done any studies in those areas as it relates to this particular product, but for sure there are plants out there that have the critical phytonutrients that no doubt in the future we believe will have the solutions for TBI, traumatic brain injury, right? And there actually is a lot of research being done around the world looking at extracting the critical phytonutrients, right, to be able to address critical, injuries, if you want to call it like, TBI. But in our case, our focus has really been on blood flow and the impact on blood flow on driving oxygenation. And what's important to understand is how we do it, which is very, very unique, because I'm sure many of your audience have heard about nitric oxide. Okay. And nitric oxide is a very important vasodilator. As we get older, and it starts really at the age of the late 20s, your body starts to produce less nitric oxide.
So that 4-lane highway gets a little tighter.
Exactly. And what ends up happening is the 60,000 miles of arteries, capillaries, and veins are lined with endothelial cells, hundreds of millions of endothelial cells. And it's the endothelial cells that produce the nitric oxide. So we know from our in vitro research that VINIA has an amazing effect on the endothelial cells. So what happens is as the VINIA, red grape powder, passes into the blood plasma, it goes locally, really important, locally to where it matters, to the endothelial cells that are lining all the arteries, capillaries, and veins. And we train, almost like you train in a ring, we almost train the endothelial cells to produce more nitric oxide, which is that vasodilator, and we reduce the production of the bad stuff that they produce. And there's literally very few products out there that are able to do that. We reduce ET1. Endothelial 1 is a vasoconstrictor. So VINIA has been demonstrated to increase the good stuff, which is nitric oxide, and we reduce the bad stuff, which is ET1. And that's why you get this amazing increase in dilation of arteries. Boom, exactly. The 4-lane highway with all the blood, all the oxygen, all the nutrients.
Like, have you seen my nose that
Can
one
he fix
time
his
when it
nose
was
somehow?
over here?
This shit.
I don't know about fixing his nose, but we can definitely get more blood flow to
Let me
his
get one of
nose.
these things.
I'm
still gonna
look
drink
of
red
my
wine
nose.
later, but
It'll definitely, and also what's important is you guys are getting in the ring, you're getting hurt. You know, the whole notion of basically getting your muscles and the whole recovery process, blood flow helps significantly in that process as well.
I feel like I'm getting more oxygen.
So these are our VINIA blood flow 2X formula chews. And as
is there a limit on how much you can have in a day?
We know from a dosage perspective that we recommend 1 per day.
I've had like 9 already. Am I okay?
He'll be fine.
They're so good.
And
You
know,
just
but-
put them in a candy packet.
Like a Starburst.
Kids will be running around, woo, screaming.
don't give it to your kids. You're focusing on your,
18 and up.
absolutely.
18 and up. It's like, like those
Mike's gonna be
energy
passing
drinks
them out at
with
Halloween.
300 milligrams of caffeine. They're delicious, but you can't give
No,
them to
but
kids.
Mike, it's important what you said is that there is no caffeine. There's none of that.
Okay.
Caffeine effect. This is blood flow, right?
I'm
It's
really
a very
feeling
different
it,
effect.
to be honest with you. It's crazy.
And the blood flow effect is literally a critical physiological effect, which is so important for the human body, which is totally different to a stimulant effect like caffeine, right?
My wife better watch out when I get home.
But at the same time, I mean, most people are taking caffeine and taking whatever the newest product is, right, for the mental clarity, right? Which essentially over time, this gives you more naturally.
So you're 100% right, Josh. And when you look at America, they say America runs on coffee. And if you look at the average American, they drink 3 to 4 coffees per day. What's amazing about this product is that we've demonstrated in our clinical research that our bioavailability, i.e., the actual piceid resveratrol, remains in your body for at least 12 hours, with a peak after 1 hour and another peak after 5 hours, right? That's why this gives you that energy all through the day. And it's not like in the case of coffee where you're drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee, you get the stimulant effect and you got to keep on going to maintain that energy all through the day because it's through a stimulant effect versus a normal physiological effect like increasing arterial dilation and more blood flow.
Interesting. I did have 2 cups of coffee this morning. I usually have 1 iced espresso, and it's pretty good. I like to wake up and make those, but it's interesting because I have to go through my day and see how this energy brings me along. I feel like I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and I was actually yawning on the way here, and now I've eaten a couple of these chews, and I'm breathing pretty good now. So,
like I say, Mike, our clinical trials are based on 90 days. You asked me a little bit earlier, how long does it take to feel, right? There are those people that feel the impact. And when I talk about what's amazing about this product, you feel the impact, right? You really get to the point. There's some people that it takes a week or 2 weeks and they go, wow, I feel totally different. I've got way more energy. I wake up in the morning and I don't have brain fog. Okay.
That's what I
1 in
wanted to
3
say.
Americans have a recent survey from the National Institute of Health demonstrated that 1 in 3 Americans suffers from brain fog, right? Brain fog is a direct relation to not having enough blood flow, oxygen going to the peripheral part of the brain, and removing all the cellular toxins. This is literally, once you're on VINIA, you feel the difference from a brain fog perspective. You wake up in the morning, your eyes open, and you're ready to work.
I'm excited.
That's the power of blood
flow. We got a lot going on right now. We gotta give some of these chews to our dirty boxing fighters on Saturday who are gonna fight, and see if they fly out with a little. So,
like I said, you will feel the difference. Some people feel the difference in the first few weeks. Some people, depending how athletic they are, may need a little bit longer. Each of us have different genetics.
But either way, it's not going to, if it does take a little bit longer for some people rather than others, or some of the bigger heavyweights or something like that, it's not going to affect them negatively.
Absolutely not.
Feel that way
Absolutely
about it.
not.
So please look into that camera right there and tell our viewers where they can find VINIA. And you say you got a special code for them, so let them know about where they can get it.
Thank you, Mike. So for all the viewers out there, you can find our VINIA Daily 2X Formula Chews on a special landing page on www.vinia.com/overdogs. That's www.vinia.com/overdogs. And there's a special coupon code which gives you 10% off your first order. It's pretty simple to remember. It's DOGS10, 10, DOGS10. And for Mike and all your fans, and Josh and all your fans, they'll get 10% off the first order. And what's important to also understand is that we have a unquestionable, no questions asked, 90 days money back guarantee. You don't have to, some companies that tell you have to send it back. No, you call up, you say you're not happy, we give you your money back. Okay, that's how much we believe in our technology. That's how much we have anchored our technology in superior science, and it's superior science that's driving superior efficacy. And you know where we see this the most, Mike, and you're going to really appreciate this given your background. I talked before about having more than 9,400 reviews and with a 4.8 out of 5 verified rating. And as CEO of the company, I get every single review into my inbox. There's not a day goes by where I'm not reading 60 to 70 reviews that come in. And about 18 months ago, we started to see more and more as the business is growing, because we've doubled this business every year for the last 3 years. We started to see amazing reviews coming in from firefighters, from police officers.
Oh, okay. That's great.
From emergency care workers, emergency nurses, doctors, military. We were shipping product to U.S. Army bases all over the world for military personnel. We started to see the importance of this for firefighters. Andrew from Arkansas, a major Park, Arkansas, a major station in a critical part of a town, basically found the impact of the extra oxygenation, the alertness, because when that bell rings as a firefighter, you got to move. And so we decided to give back to the community. And we wanted to do this in a way that was sustainable, really focusing on first responders. So for all the first responders out there that are watching today, I want to make sure that they understand that because of our company's commitment to building the community, we give a 20% discount for life, to all of our first responders. And so they just need to go into our website. They'll find the area for first responders. If you're a firefighter or a police officer, you have a special code that you put in, it validates you, and then you're entitled to a 20% discount for life.
That's incredible. Gotta love that.
I mean, here's the thing, though, is like, we've been talking about athletes a lot, right? Now you've got on first responders. Like, I'm not an athlete, but I like to take care of my body. Like, I would take this product. You know what I mean? I've got genetically high HDL, LDL, right? So that would be one reason that I would be very interested.
I have the ADHD thing.
Yeah,
going on.
it helps.
So you guys got a lot going on, and I don't want to comment about what you guys got going on. But I'm here just to talk about blood flow.
I hear you.
You know, obviously, we maintain blood pressure within already normal ranges. This is important. A guy your age, you know, with an active lifestyle.
How old am I?
Let's not go.
No.
I don't want
Let's
Josh. I
go
don't
there.
want to take you into that
Just
corner.
take a guess.
Well, I think you're a similar age to me.
So like 28.
I'm 51.
All right, I'm 43. Me. Jesus.
I'm sorry.
I'm so glad this show can be edited.
I'll tell you what, though.
You can leave that in.
How
Gary.
long you been taking this?
I've been on this for 5 years.
And you look better
Than me, obviously.
You look better
Yeah.
today than you did 5 years ago?
It's dramatically changed my life. Dramatically. I work 18 hours a day as CEO of this company, manufacturing facility in Israel, R&D in Israel, public company. So we have to deal with the markets, with investment bankers. So I'm up until midnight.
Are you ever buying bottles at the club and drinking until 4 a.m.?
No,
in Las Vegas? There you go, Josh. You need these daily chews, brother.
If you come back in 90 days, let's see how you feel.
Okay.
That's what's most important.
I feel good.
I don't know if I'm going to put, again,
you can't help with the hair.
I'm not going to help with the hair.
I get
right?
it. I get it.
Okay. And I don't have research to support that, right? Because everything I talk,
If it starts growing back, we got something.
I think he could help with the hair.
That would be
Josh.
anecdotal. Everything that we do is
I think he
anchored
could
in
help
real
with the
science,
hair.
real research, real science.
You put on one of
yeah,
those hats. Their hair
I'm
be
actually
looking
thinking
really
about it.
good.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, Mike talked about it. We've talked a lot about the combat fighters in the ring, but literally, the average person out there, who in the world today doesn't need more physical energy and mental alertness?
Yeah.
Right? We live in a crazy world, and that's what the amazing benefits of this product. It's like what I call the new Maslow's hierarchy. Right? Everybody needs more physical energy in their day. Everybody needs that mental alertness. Yeah. Waking up in the morning and having brain fog and taking 3 hours to really start to think about, your job, what you need to do, your responsibilities. And so this is a game changer. And I encourage the listeners, go to our website on VINIA.com, read the reviews. And when you read the reviews, you see how literally this product is at an engagement level, which is unlike many other supplements out there, because it fundamentally changes people's lives. It gives them the ability to get so much more out of their life, anchored in something that's so physiologically proven around the importance of blood flow in actually being the most critical part of our body's operating mechanism.
Are you going to tell us about Ronaldo's dick or not? Simple yes or no.
That story is going to stay out of this.
Okay. Jesus turned water into wine, and he took the grapes and turned them into a chewable that you can take daily for brain oxygen and blood flow.
That is beautiful, and he's right. And that was Jesus' first miracle in the north of Israel. Also, if you go back to the New Testament, Timothy says to Paul, take a little red wine to improve your health. So, we talk about the French paradox being the whole beginning of cardiovascular health, but back 2,500, 3,000 years, right? Our ancestors, they understood the importance of red wine as well. So really what we're doing now is we're basically bringing the benefits of red wine, all the benefits of red wine to people with no sugar, no calories, and yes, no alcohol.
I think I'm going to have a nice Bordeaux in about an hour. Yeah.
A Bordeaux?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one. I haven't had none of that. You put me on the Cabernet.
How are you growing these grapes? In a controlled environment?
I just grow the cells.
Okay, so you just grow the cells.
Yeah. Right, because you said
so everything is done in a very controlled environment.
So you took one.
I took one grape.
So you took one red grape.
One red grape.
And then you were like, accelerator thing.
I tell you,
machine.
This guy, he's a fighter, but he's really smart fighter.
He's also a scientist.
He gets it.
He's a scientist.
Fighting, you got to use your mind.
I can totally see this.
People think I don't because I like to take punches.
You're a lot sharper than the promoter entrepreneur sitting on my side here. that looks.
He's been eating Josh alive today, bro.
But what's important, Mike? You got it. Like at the end of the day, we take the plant once. In the case of the red grape, we took cells from the skin from the flesh.
You got to put that one red grape in a
What?
museum somewhere.
Well, now I have the cell bank because I took cells from the flesh, from the skin, and from the seed. People don't realize the importance of the grape seed as well.
Of course.
In actually having critical polyphenols. And then from there, we built the cell bank where we conditioned the cells. We figured out how to get the cells through feeding them the right food, the right temperature, and the right lighting, and a few other variables. We figured out how to get these cells to literally produce way more of the critical polyphenol called piceid resveratrol that we've spoken about, plus catechin, quercetin, anthocyanins, and tannins. And what you have here, and you get it, because when you fight in the ring, it's a synergistic effect of you, your trainer, there's a whole team behind you. It's the same thing in the case of our cells. The cells produce catechin, quercetin, anthocyanins, and tannins, a whole blend of polyphenols. And then we have the hero polyphenol being piceid resveratrol. And all of this is done in a non-GMO way. It's not genetically modified because we don't in any way change the DNA or the molecular composition of the actual compound. This is really, really important for your audience.
It's all just nutrients from the grape.
Exactly. And what we're doing is we're just taking nature and we're helping nature do a little bit better in a way that produces the polyphenols at a higher level that we want.
So you guys have studied the grape this long, or you knew what the grape had and you went to it? Now, you said there's 500,000 plants out there that you've been studying.
Yep.
And all these plants produce something similar as the red grape, or something a little bit different? Or
it's I love your questioning, and you're 100% right. Look, every single plant has unique phytonutrients. We started with the grape because we understood the importance of blood flow and the cardiovascular system and the impact that it has on hundreds of millions of people. Once we completed the work on the red grape, we moved to the olive. And as you know, the power of the Mediterranean diet is so important, right? You have blue zones. Everybody knows blue zones from a longevity perspective. Blue zones basically have people that have great cardiovascular health because they're drinking lots of red wine. They have literally
charcuterie boards with that red wine,
and they have a healthy lifestyle. The power of the Mediterranean diet is all anchored in olives. And so we took olives, and I have some samples for you here today. This is a product we're going to launch to the market next year. And inside this product, just like in our VINIA, each capsule of VINIA has the same amount of piceid resveratrol as one bottle of red wine. In the case of our olive cells, we magnified the level of a critical polyphenol called verboscoside. And verboscoside is a very important polyphenol as far as helping to reduce fat levels in the liver. And so we just did a piece of research, in vitro research on liver cells, where we showed, and today we produce the highest levels of verboscoside in the world. Just like in the case of piceid resveratrol, there's no other company in the world that can produce piceid resveratrol at a commercial and industrial scale because they don't have our technology to be able to do it because they can't magnify it 100 times. In fact, we did a piece of work. I showed you the size of my factory. It's roughly 10,000 square feet. We showed that if you had to actually grow grapes to produce the amount of piceid resveratrol that our factory produces, our biological facility produces, you would need a land mass more than the size of Manhattan. Okay? That's showing you the power of biotech and the magnification that we do. Okay? So in the case of the olive cells, we increase the verboscoside levels inside each 100 milligrams. This is obviously a lot more, but each 100 milligrams is equivalent to the amount of verboscoside that's in 2 liters of olive oil. And we showed in vitro research the ability with human liver cells to reduce the fat levels. And fatty liver is a major problem today, specifically non-alcoholic fatty liver. You may have alcoholic fatty liver, which is something slightly different. Sorry, Josh, I'm picking on you here today. But there's 100 million people in America that are dealing with that. So again, just giving you another example, Mike, because you asked a really good question around the power of the plant kingdom and the ability of the plant kingdom to have the critical phytonutrients to really provide the next generation of science-based therapeutic solutions for all of us and
wanna
for our
know-
children.
I want to know what Joe Rogan knows about this. I feel like he knows some stuff about this.
He does know about this, and we have had a segment on the Rogan Show
Okay.
where it was about 18 months
Okay.
ago, late November 2023, where Joe Rogan was introduced to Parseed resveratrol, to our VINIA, by Gary Breaker. Because
I
there are
bet he
many
loved it.
biohackers today that utilize VINIA as part of their, their overall systems that they use. Why? Because they understand the importance of blood flow. And this brings me back to a point that we haven't discussed today, because many of your users, and I'm sure yourself, you're taking a stack of multiple supplements. Okay. Now, I always say to people, it's critical when you're taking supplements, you've got to make sure that your supplements that you're taking are soluble, right? We have amazing solubility. 82% of our Parseed resveratrol is solubilized in the intestinal tract. Parseed resveratrol is 25 times more soluble than regular resveratrol. Remember, I said that Parseed resveratrol is like the king of resveratrol, the Rolls Royce of resveratrol, because we're 25 times more soluble than regular resveratrol. In addition, you got to check bioavailability. Really important, right? Because ultimately, you got to make sure that it passes from your intestinal tract through the membrane into your blood plasma, and starts to work on your body. VINIA, it takes 20 minutes. We showed the Parseed resveratrol takes 20 minutes in a clinical trial to go from the intestinal tract to enter into the blood plasma. And we know it lasts for at least 12 hours. I say at least because we only tested up to 12 hours. If we would have tested maybe under 15 hours, it could last until 15 hours, but we only tested up till 12 hours. So we say it lasts 12 hours with a peak after 1 hour and a peak after 5 hours. And we have all the efficacy, grounded in that. So when you have solubility and bioavailability, you have efficacy, as we've demonstrated with our clinical trial that showed the significant increase in arterial dilation. Now, when you're taking supplements, you got to make sure, question 1, is it soluble? Question 2, is it bioavailable? Question 3, are there clinical trials? Not just clinical trials on the ingredients, but clinical trial on the supplement. This is really important. And for those people that are taking good supplements, because there are a lot of good supplements out there that fit that criteria, for sure, those supplements are going to work harder when you've got good blood flow. Because how do the nutrients in those supplements get to all the billions of cells in your body? Through the blood. The blood is the carrier. And if you've got good blood flow, you got to make sure that whatever other supplements you're taking in your stack are going to all your body, your body's tissues, your body's cells, and your body organs. And this is really, really important for your audience, because your audience is obviously an audience that's focused on longevity, an audience that's focused on their overall health. And it's important to understand that.
I don't know. Some of these drunk guys eating fast food right now, watching this shit. I don't know how.
But for your stack to work, you got to make sure you've got good blood flow.
But good oxygen and blood flow is very important, whether you're fat or not. So whether you're taking care of yourself or not, everybody wants to be able to breathe when they're sitting at their desk. And
how are you feeling now?
I feel like I'm breathing. I'm saying some smart. To be honest with you,
you're 100 times smarter after 2 chews.
I had a question when you were talking about the olives.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I've had olives in Greece, in a couple locations in Greece, and they're much different than here. The olive oil there is much different. And with the studies you've done, I mean, are you using American olives, or are you getting your olives from the good spots over there in Santorini?
So we talked about the power of the Mediterranean diet, not the power of the American diet, right? So our core olives that we took were from the Mediterranean, because we start with the best. Obviously, we want to start with the best of nature. We start with the best of nature, and we take cells from the best of nature, because if our starting material is good, then it allows us to magnify even more.
But you only used one olive?
Only used one olive. That's it. And so for people that care about the planet for generations to come, this is where our technology is a game changer, because we utilize, think about it, a micro fraction of the land and a micro fraction of the water and the energy. And that's why, for our company.
Could you end world hunger with something like this?
Look, I would say to you, by the way, that's a big question, right? But I would say to you that as the global leader in plant cell biology and the company that's really spearheaded what our technology, we call it botanical synthesis. Today, 5 years ago, there were no companies in our space.
Mm-hmm.
Today, they are starting to see companies starting to do tissue culture. For example, today you have a shortage of cocoa. So companies are starting to grow cocoa in the same way that we are growing the olives and the grapes. Same thing for coffee. The coffee price has doubled, right? There's a shortage of coffee in the world. So they're starting to try and figure out how to do it in coffee. Now, as a father of 3 children, I have a 19-year-old in the military, a 17-year-old, and a 12-year-old princess. I think to myself, if I was to have children today, it's scary, right? How many children do you want to bring into this world knowing all the challenges that you touched on, 10 billion population? And ultimately, my hope that is if you fast forward 10 years, there are 1,000 companies like us because there's 500,000 plants.
Yep.
We can't do everything. We're focused on driving, basically on developing, we're focused on discovering, developing, manufacturing, and democratizing life-changing compounds from plants that impact the lives positively from a health and wellness perspective of hundreds of millions of consumers, but does it in the way that preserves the planet for generations to come. So ultimately, if there's another 1,000 companies out there, that's great because it's going to be better for our children and our grandchildren because, to your point, it's going to be a critical source of nutrition. I showed you a video, which we don't show publicly, of how we grow our cells in the largest bioreactors in the world, right? And in our facility that you saw, that 10,000 square feet, we have 150 bioreactors growing our cells, all digitized. All our biological markers are digitized. That's how we drive the consistency.
All from one grape.
All from one grape. That's how cells multiply,
that's
right? And we
incredible.
train the cells. We train the cells to be able to be strong enough to grow in these large bioreactors.
That's incredible.
Just like you train a young kid, you know he can be in the ring. You got to train them years to be able to put them in the ring. Same thing. We train ourselves. We condition ourselves to be able to be strong enough to be in these liquid, bioreactors with liquid media, with sheer forces of air, because we're pumping air into them as well, because the cells have to live and they have to grow. But what's critical is that those 1,000 companies are all focused on building other life-changing compounds. I just want to make sure our company continues to lead the pack, right?
I love this episode. I think it's very educational, and I hope that our fans are gaining a lot from it. Make sure you guys go to the link in the description or where the website he told us to go to earlier. Y'all check this stuff out, man. I'm definitely gonna, I'm gonna start trying the daily chews and see what it does for me is in everything I do. My mind, the podcast, having to talk to Josh on the phone, dealing with my kids on teaching them, and just housework around the house, organizing things. Like, I can't wait to try this stuff and see where I am in 90 days. So give yourself a challenge, 90-day challenge. Try the daily chews.
And obviously we have a commitment, Mike, that if anyone out there is not happy with the impact of this product, after 90 days, it's a money back guarantee. No questions asked.
And you get 10% off with OverDogs, /OverDogs after the website. So thank you. Thanks so much, Ilan, for teaching us so much about this, and hopefully we all live better, healthier, happier lives now that we know about
the importance of blood flow, huh?
Yeah, the importance.
Super impressive. I mean, super impressive.
Yeah.
I was a little hesitant going into this show. But after speaking with you before and listening to you, now I'm really impressed. You touched on the blue zones, right? And it's like, this stuff's been around for hundreds of years, right? People living off the plants, the roots, herbs, herbal teas, whatever it may be. But what you guys have done to extract that and the capacity that you have and to be able to bring that to the general public is extremely impressive.
Thank you. Look, guys, it's a real pleasure to be here. This is my first time with this kind of audience. And I've really enjoyed the questions that you've asked. And
you deserve it, brother. You're a really smart guy, and you've really done your homework and all types of scientific research. So,
And I
congratulations.
invite you guys to Israel to come and see our biological plant cell facility, to come and see our R&D and how we take the plants and how we do the tissue cultures, and then how we train the cells to be strong enough to survive in those, bioreactors. Because it's interesting. I explained to you before, like plant cells are like human cells that have brains. And this is one of the most powerful discoveries that we developed in the last 17 years on how to actually, just like you condition a fighter, right? As a fighter, basically moves through their stages of development, you feed them different food, you have different regimen, different exercises, right? Different, patterns that you're working through with them. The same thing we do with our cells. So there's so many, in parallels here on basically how we work hard, we train. In our case, we're leveraging the power of plants and their plant cells to be able to really, change the world of health and wellness and give the power of the plant kingdom to the population without abusing their ecosystem.
Right. Sustainability along the way.
Yeah, super critical.
Thank you guys for watching OverDogs Podcast today with Mr. Ilan. A lot of incredible information was given here today, and I hope it finds you well. I know I'm sure going to use it. Already am. So tune in next time, OverDogs Podcast, and like and subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you thought about VINIA. All right, thanks.